We are officially live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Chiropractic Compass podcast, brought to you by the legendary Chiropractor online community. We are here tonight with a third-time guest, Dr. Barbara Eaton, and our lovely, lovely sponsors over at 56 Day Bootcamp. I am so happy to have you on the show tonight, Doc. I cannot wait for the knowledge that you're going to drop. We were just talking a little bit off camera about everything that's going on and all of the exciting events and topics and things going on, and it's just crazy. And I want to apologize, first of all, to everyone out there. I know this was meant to be at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We are now at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. But, life happens, and, clinic sometimes holds you up, and paperwork is sometimes not as nice as you'd like it to be. But without further ado, Doc, for those for those watching right now or watching on replay, give yourself just a brief introduction, who you are, how you got into coaching, and all of that jazz. And then I want you to share one interesting thing about yourself that most people don't already know. How does that sound?
Okay. Let's see. I feel like I'm a pretty authentic, raw person, so I'm not really sure what all to share about that you don't already know, but I'll think about it over this next couple of minutes. So yes, I'm Dr. Barbara Eaton. You can always see my name above my head. And I became a chiropractor after graduating from Logan in 1997. And when I graduated, I was pregnant and I had a toddler. So I kind of did school, I guess, like some women do it. And just decided to add more to my plate as I was going through school, raising kids as well. Then, my daughter Micah was born a few months after graduating. At that time, then the father of my children also graduated, and we moved back to Michigan, which is where I was from. And a year after that, decided, okay, I love being home with my children and I want to have a career. And I didn't know anything about business. Maybe some of you who are getting started or in school, you feel like you're already a business person. I was not. So I hired my coach 5 months before I ever opened my practice because I wanted to make sure that I hit the ground running. I had 2 children. I had 2 student loans, mine and at the time my now ex-husband's, and I couldn't afford whether time, stress, or money to not get it right. I also knew that if I'm going to have to learn how to do business at some point anyway, why delay learning? Like, to me, that just didn't make sense. If you're going to have to learn how to run a successful business to be successful, why wait to do that? So before I even knew where, I didn't even have an address of where I was going to practice, I started training. I started training on communication. I started training on marketing, on my systems. So when I opened my practice in December of 98 in a tiny little farming town, blue collar town, cash practice, I went from 0 to 180 office visits a week in 89 days. Now that's pretty amazing, I think. And I'll tell you, it was because I learned what to do before opening, right? So I didn't have to make it up as I was going. I didn't reinvent the wheel because to me that seemed exhausting. And quite frankly, I didn't have the time. I didn't have the resources. And I definitely didn't want to rob more time from my children. So God was very gracious and I just kept growing. And my coach said, hey, how about helping other chiropractors as a coach? And I was like, sure. So the very first program that I taught was an 8-week program. It was called 0 to 180 in 90 days or less because that's what I did. So it was based on these 4 tenets that I still teach today: endless referrals, raving fans, getting paid your worth, and communication and marketing. And so from there, I just kept growing my practice and adding on more team members and more associates, and was traveling quite a bit, speaking in our profession, and then eventually moved from just group coaching to then one-on-one coaching. Eventually sold my practice to my associate, awesome dude, moved out of state, blah, 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 blah. Got divorced, and now I live in Alaska. So I moved here in June of 2010. So fast forward to here. So something you don't know. Hmm. I'm a terrible sleeper.
Really?
I suck at that. I really do. So, I wish I was good at it, but I'm not so much. Actually, I sleep really well when we're on the boat. Anchored up into a cove is pretty good sleep in there. But other than that, I'm no good at sleeping.
Oh, that's amazing. Next it's going to be a houseboat, right? Right? You just
Yeah.
We're
from the boat, but this one I'm stationary on the ground.
I love it, Doc. I absolutely love it. Awesome. That is Dr. Barbara Eaton, everyone. She is a phenomenal chiropractor and a coach out in Alaska, and she has been all around the world. She's, like she said, she mentioned, and speaks on chiropractic stages all around the world, and still does to this day. And actually, we'll get to this later in the episode, but she will be in Atlanta the weekend of October 26th. So please, please, please mark your calendars for that. And especially, Dr. Barb loves to do everything for the ladies out there. And so please, if you are a female chiropractor and you are looking to be a badass in practice, you are going to want to follow Dr. Barbara Eaton for sure. So with that being said, Doc, I want to do a quick shameless plug. If you're watching this on the Chiropractic Compass podcast on Facebook Live, please head to the legendarychiropractor.com to check out everything chiropractic that we have going on. I'm super excited. There are so many things in the works for the Legendary Chiropractor right now, and I just cannot wait to drop all of them for you guys. So without further ado, Doc, we are going to hop right into our major topic tonight. And that major topic is how to identify ruts so you can avoid them. And I know that this can either be a really superficial conversation, but I don't want it to be. I want it to be deep, and I want to get into this because I know you have so much to offer in the guidance, and that's where the whole entire premise of the Chiropractic Compass podcast came from, was like, how do we provide, our slogan is a navigational beacon for the past, or for the present and the future of chiropractic, and that's exactly what this conversation is all about, is providing the right avenues and opening up the right doors so that people don't fall into craters and, can't come back from them. And it's how to identify, not only ruts, but don't reinvent the wheel to make your life that much harder. Just go with what's already out there and know how to utilize not only free content, but pay for coaching and resources like yourself. So, Doc, talk to us a little bit about where this topic came from, where it really stemmed from with you, and then we'll get into it further and further as I write down questions about as you're talking here, okay?
Yeah, so if you think about ruts, so in Alaska, we do a lot of like remote side-by-side, quad, four-wheeling, whatever everyone else calls it. And so you can get stuck in a rut pretty easily, right? Whether it's muskeg, which is this thick mud, or you can get stuck in a rut of like a bigger ATV that's gone through, and now there's this rut, right? So one of the ways that we make sure that we don't get stuck out in a remote area, which can get rather serious, especially if it's winter time, right? When, was it last winter, the winter before, my husband and I were snow machining back and it was negative 28 degrees. So like that gets serious pretty fast, yeah. Right? So a rut, isn't developed immediately. A rut happens over time. So when we're quadding, we always prefer to go with somebody. So like my husband and I, we raised our kids riding, right? So we had a side by side, and then they each had two big quads. So, we have a winch on ours and they had winches on theirs. Well, guess what? We have an empty nest, and now it's just Ben and I. So we got rid of the machine that the two of us rode together, and now we both have our own quads to make sure if someone gets stuck or someone breaks down, you have each other, yeah. Right? So you have to have the right tools It would be useless if we just had 2 quads and we didn't have a winch and we didn't have a rope and all of those necessary items, right? So much is the same in life, that the ruts aren't developed immediately. They develop over time. And many times we don't even really realize it until we look back and we're like, crap, how did I end up here, right? Whether that's weight gain or it's you're not paying attention to your metrics and your practice, right? Like metrics are something that it's really difficult to improve an element in your practice if you're not measuring it, right? And if we're diligently measuring and watching our numbers, then we can see when they fluctuate. Now, that doesn't mean become your numbers. So I have a story on Facebook ads that perhaps some of you have seen about my journey of what happened. Like there was a period of my life in practice that I became my numbers. You know, if I had a good day and numbers were up, I was happy. If I didn't have enough new practice members that day, I was sad and pissed off. So I'm not suggesting that you look at your numbers for that, but instead you look at your numbers to see where are we going and where have we been and what tweaks need to be made in order to change those numbers, right? Always working smarter, not harder. So the other really important thing about ruts is that if you're trying to do this alone, you will end up in a rut and stuck, right? With no one helping. Yeah. Just like if it was only Ben and I on a machine and something happens to that and we break down in a rut, we got no way out. We're hoofing it at best, right? Yeah. So it's so important to identify and to find your tribe, to find your help. And that's one thing I love about the 56-day chiropractic boot camp to double your business is that tribe of mainly women. So it's 93% women. There are men that are in the boot camp, have like so bonded together that we're willing to bear it all with each other so that we know if we're going into ruts, and we've always got someone there to help us get out of a rut, right? If you're not willing to truly share and be authentic, then it's likely that you're going to be in a rut and really not know how to get out. Yeah. And then what you do is you spin and you spin and you spin and you spin and you spin. And so you're burning all kinds of energy, right? Like you're going to snap a belt, you're probably going to break an axle and go nowhere. And the same happens in practice, right? Like we can break our spirit. We can break our health. We can break relationships because we're spinning and spinning and spinning. And that's where burnout comes from, right? Not one person ever has been burned out from hard work. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ever. Yeah. What we get burned out from is when we're working and working and working and working and working and not getting a reward. And typically I find that's because you don't have systems in place whereby you provide value and have systems in place in order to generate an income. Yes. Because need, N-E-E-D, will never suffice at the bank. Somebody else's need will not pay your bills. Somebody else's need is not going to send you on a vacation. Somebody else's need is not going to provide diapers for your children or college for them. It requires M-O-N-E-Y. And the only way you get that is to provide value, right? So the purpose of your business is to fund your ideal lifestyle. If you're taking notes today, write that down. I got that from a coach, Jeff Smith, 19 years ago, in a program called 2X+1 Mastermind Coaching. So the purpose of your business is to fund your ideal lifestyle. So check this out. If the purpose of your business instead first is to serve people, that may or may not end up with an income. Mm-hmm. If instead you drive first to fund your ideal lifestyle, then your ideal lifestyle drives your time. Your ideal lifestyle drives your fees, right? Yeah. And the only way that you get paid is to provide value, because no one is going to drive by your office with a duffel bag of Benjamins, those are $100 bills, and put them at your front door. Right. So if they do, they probably robbed a bank. Don't touch that bag. It's pretty good, right? So instead, you have to first provide value. That's how you get money. So it's so important to have a strong financial mindset and a strong sales mindset. So all of the great systems in the world will fail if you don't have those mindsets. And that's why in the boot camp, we start week 1 is hitting you hard with mindset. I'm going to hit you with your conviction. What is your conviction about business? What is your conviction about time? What is your conviction about chiropractic care? And how do all of those come together so that when we serve a practice member, we serve them first, right?
Yeah.
And then we go through sales and we go through closing and all of those things that we typically, at least wise, I know my experience I didn't get that kind of training in school. And listen to me, it's not the school's responsibility to make you into an entrepreneur. You're at Life University, right? To become a chiropractor.
Right.
It is your job to learn how to be successful in business. And only 15% of your success in business has to do with how good of a clinician you are. Sorry to break that dream. 85% is how good are you as a business person. And don't think just because you worked at, Buckle when you were in high school or college that you know sales. You do not. I promise you. And just because you're a people person does not mean that you're a business communicator. They're not the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I worked at Dairy Queen, Doc. Aren't I ready to go? I'm ready to rock and roll.
I mean, it's good experience, right? But that does not make you into an entrepreneur.
Oh, okay. That's awesome.
Because I have strong hands. That doesn't make you a chiropractor, right? There's this has got to be connected.
Yes, absolutely. For those of you watching, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Drop your comments below. I will get them to Dr. Barb. She's on Skype right now. So if your comment will populate to my feed and I will get that question or comment to her. Also, like this, share this, do whatever you can to spread this to your virtual corner of this world. And Dr. Barb is dropping bombs tonight, and this is amazing. These golden nuggets that you have to go back and watch these episodes over and over and over again, because every single time you're going to get something different. And Dr. Barb has been on this Chiropractic Compass podcast 3 times, and we're on our 3rd season. She's been on every single season for a reason, because she offers success tips and the mindset, the mindset to have as an entrepreneur, which all chiropractors and small business owners are. So you have to understand where we're coming from here. And this isn't a business podcast. This isn't an art podcast. This isn't a chiropractic philosophy podcast. This is a podcast to help guide you to become the most successful version of yourself that you can be with free content. I mean, my gosh, podcasts are great. I mean, I'm a serial content user. And so it's I gain all of this knowledge through content, and it's to provide that for other people. I just hope that we can do that for you tonight.
So can I offer a distinction?
Yes.
So listen, if all you do is listen and read and you don't execute,
right,
it doesn't matter how much you've learned.
Yes.
Right? So I just want to give extreme kudos to Johnny for, while he's in school, starting the legendary chiropractor, while he's in school, starting this podcast. And guess what? He didn't have it all figured out when he got started, right? He jumped and figured it out along the way and asked for help and put himself, I hate that, put himself out there, because that's not really what it is.
Right.
Instead, he put himself into position to develop relationships, right? So all of us are working towards financial independence. Yes?
Yes.
Right. So here is the formula. And I got this from one of my friends and mentors, Garrett Gunderson, who owns the Wealth Factory. So it's relationship capital plus mental capital leads to financial capital and financial independence, right? So let's look at relationship capital. Who are the people that you know? You know, the slogan, your net work becomes your net worth.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. That is absolutely true. And make it your goal that you're the least successful and the least wealthy person that you know. Mm-hmm. That you're always hanging out and working on relationships with people up here, right?
Yeah.
Who can teach you, who can mentor you, who can introduce you. And listen, when Johnny is around the movers and shakers in chiropractic, we all recognize him. So then what happens? we put him in touch with this person and we put him in touch with that person. So he's always building his relationship capital. I guarantee you, when he stepped out as the legendary chiropractor, he didn't have the relationship capital that he has now. He didn't have the skills that he has now, but he stepped out first to start building those bridges and start building those relationships. Like I sponsor Johnny's Be Live TV because he first reached out and asked me to do this, right? And then I saw him working and making those connections and making an impact. And I was like, man, I want to help this kid, right? So to all of you, when you get, like, don't wait to practice building your relationship capital muscle. And if you're not sure, like, well, what kind of books can I read or who should I talk to? I have memes that are really cool, that have like my Audible list of books that I would recommend listening to. And if you want to read them, read them. I'm an Audible person because I like to put it on 1.5 and just crank. So if you want that, you can email me and ask me for it. Send me a Facebook private message. I'll send those to you and rip through them. You know, part of how I'm able to share such powerful content is I don't listen to check it off my list.
Right.
And I listen and I listen and I listen and I listen and I listen. And my rule is I don't go to another author until I'm saying the book with that author on Audible. Right? Because then I've learned it. Right. It's like this, like if you're a freebie person and you just want, like, I just want exposure to everything, you're crazy. Like, no joke. Instead, find a message that resonates with you and learn everything you can, right? It's not about width, it's about depth. Right. It's not about width, it's about depth, right? So we have relationship capital. Then your mental capital is your ability to consistently apply that which you've learned. So if you're a student, volunteer to do strategies for healthy living workshops at clinic for local chiropractors. Yes, go and do screenings for them. Ask them how you can be involved. That's a benefit of the boot camp is I match students with local doctors so they can already be practicing, right? You already be practicing what you're going to do in your practice. And I encourage you to go into it looking for what can I learn? What can I grow? Like, how can I grow and be out of your comfort zone? And let me tell you this, the world owes you nothing. The world owes you nothing. It is your responsibility to make it happen for yourself. And building your relationship capital will amplify and expand that in amazing ways.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you went there because I was sitting here thinking, you know, man, I just said all that stuff and then you were like, let me interject, and you said it exactly how I couldn't have said it better myself. Action is so much louder than words, so much louder than knowledge. And if you watched my previous podcast with Dr. Travis Corcoran the other day, last Friday, it was incredible how we went into the input and the bombardment of knowledge that we constantly have. But it's not until we process and then output that knowledge that makes us a better person and a more successful person in the end. So you can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you don't know what to do with it and you don't act on it, there's absolutely no reason why it's, you know, floating around in your brain. And who are you to share with anybody if you haven't implemented it yourself or haven't seen it in action before? So it's like, that's why I love what you do. It's like, you're a coach, but yeah, you've been there, right? Like your first coaching program was like 180 patients in this amount of time because you did it. You know, you were like, okay, I did that. I can coach on this. I feel like I've done this well enough to help other people get there. You know what I'm saying? So it's that. Yeah. Go ahead.
And you know, like, make sure that you choose mentors that are still growing themselves, yes. Right? Like it's not bragging if it's true. I added almost $600,000 to my income in 1 year, like over and above what I had done the year before in 1 year. So you know what that means? I have to be growing. I have to be learning. And that's the kind of intensity that I bring to the boot camp, because here's the deal. Your business will never outgrow your mindset. Ever.
Love it.
Your business will not outgrow your mindset. So if you're not working on this, and it's not just sitting around like working on my mindset, I'm working on my mindset, I'm working on my mindset. It's like Johnny was just saying, it's put stuff in, but it's got to come back out.
Yep.
We have to be stepping out of our comfort zone. And that's another thing we talk about in the boot camp is if you're not like scaring yourself because you're stepping into bigger playing fields all the time, something is wrong. That's how we don't get into ruts.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
We don't get into ruts because we're bigger than the rut.
Yes.
Because we're always working, we're always developing, we're always growing. You know, it's kind of like if you just have stock tires versus you get like the big mud lights, they're going through everything.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely. And it's so true because as I've learned through the podcast, through the Legendary Chiropractor, all that stuff, it's like when you really are passionate about something, you dive super deep into the content, right? But it's coming out on the other side that's saying, okay, now all of that stuff I learned at 2, 4 in the morning, staying up late, trying to hustle through because I don't right now, like Dr. Ed Osborne said in our last podcast, he said, you have more time than money. As a student, you have more time than money. Spend your time wisely, learning what you're going to implement and be able to take action on in the future, meaning tomorrow, not in 10 years from now. That's not when we mean implement this. It's not save all your golden tickets for that one day of opening practice. It's save it for tomorrow. Open up tomorrow or start something tomorrow. Put that action to work tomorrow, right? So like that, and I don't mean tomorrow as fictitious as it probably sounds. I mean like actually starting day one tomorrow, right? So like that's kind of something that I picked up on, and it's learning all of those things, implementing on them. But I want to go back, Doc, to the ruts. I want to go back to the ruts because here we are, right? We're students. I know there's a lot of chiropractic students and docs watching this right now, but chiropractic students specifically, there are, you have the opportunity at your fingertips, at your disposal to identify so many ruts, not only in chiropractic business, but in school and in personal life as well. So how do you, Doc, talk to us a little bit about where we find those ruts so we can avoid them ahead of time instead of running straight into them, right?
Yeah, and the ruts I think also come from choosing an average life. Right? Just being okay with status quo. Believing this nonsense. I was talking to Dr. Richard Lutta about this on a podcast interview. I think it was last week.
Yep.
About this idea of I just got to be balanced and I just got to go easy. Said no successful person ever. Ever. Like you don't see people doing amazing things that are looking for balance. It doesn't exist. So for those of you who are downhill skiers, right? So if I'm going down a black diamond, I have to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I'm not going to like take off over here and zip out into the trees or over a cliff. That's completely not a healthy way, right? As well, if I just like bombed the hill, you're going to go flying over a mogul and probably get hurt or hurt somebody else. So when you go down the hill, you go back and forth. It's basically there's center line, and it's how many times do you go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, right? Always with guardrails established in your life as well. So the rut is just from going down the middle, just doing the same thing over and over and over again. So Rich Christensen wrote a book called The Zigzag Principle, which if you haven't read that book, I highly recommend it. Phenomenal principles about business. So the first zig that you do in business is always to get to profitability. Profitability first, and then add resources. Like those of you who are opening these practices with massive overhead, you are crazy. That is not how successful businesses are run. You get to profitability and then you add resources. Oh, but it won't look professional if I don't have a CA. Said who? Said who?
Right.
Do you know how many $1 million businesses are run by one person?
Right. Yeah.
Lots of them.
Lots, especially in the online era, right?
Yeah. If someone told you that someday or somewhere, sometime, it's not true. If you're not paying yourself, you have no business giving your money to somebody else to work in your office, right?
Yep.
Like week 10 in the boot camp is all about profit first. Mike McAllowitz, who is the VIP speaker at the Women's Chiropractic Leadership Summit on campus at Life University, October the 26th. And then he's doing a VIP mastermind from 6 to 8 on October the 26th. Profit first, right? Like you got to get to profitability first. And Mike has dedicated his life to ending entrepreneurial poverty. And that is not only poverty of money, but poverty of time, right? Because why serve yourself broke?
Yeah.
So ruts happen when we just settle for average. Like, oh, I just want to have a balanced life and I'm so worried about working too hard. What? How about being worried that you're not making a lasting impact? How about that worry? How about being worried that you're just settling for average? How about being worried that we talk about optimum potential, but then we look at our time commitment, we're like, oh, I got to have time to chill out. Why? I don't get it. Like, if you want to get old fast and you want to be burned out and feel worthless, do that. Just take it easy. Just kick back. Am I saying don't take time off? I am absolutely not saying don't take time off.
Right.
I'm saying earn it.
Yes.
You know what happens if you don't? Then your mind is just going and 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 going. Because you're not sure that you did what you were supposed to do in the office that day. Because you're not really sure if you're making a lasting impact. Because when you look at your numbers, you don't even keep them or you don't know what they mean. So you know innately you didn't earn that time off. So then what we do is we worry and process when we're not even in the office.
Right.
Right? Think about if you're a student taking an exam. If you studied, you're golden. Like, I got this, right? If you didn't, there's a panic because I didn't prepare properly.
Right.
That if you've been doing what you were supposed to do, typically showing up to class, you got this.
Yeah.
You can enjoy other parts of your life. And I would encourage you as students, I know you all think you're super busy. I get it. I remember being there. Actually, you know what? That's not true. I had so much fun in chiro school. I played to tennis. I hiked like a banshee. I rode my mountain bike everywhere. I had a blast. And you know why? I was super intentional on whatever I was doing.
Right.
If I was in class, I paid attention. If I was studying, it was all studying. I didn't get distracted. And if I was having fun, I had a lot of it. So it's really intentional about what you're doing. And the same thing now. I live an extremely full life. It's because what I'm doing, I'm obsessed in.
Right.
Start doing that now while you're a student. Be obsessed, whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point, and that's a whole another topic for another time. But being obsessed is super, super important, and you'll quickly find. And I'm actually writing a podcast guide right now, just as a resource for people. And I got into like talking about passion, and it was like, you don't really realize you have passion until you just can't stop thinking and can't stop talking about it. And then you're like, oh my goodness, I just spent however many hours on my computer deep down in a hole thinking, researching podcasting or researching online, funnels or sales or marketing or whatever it might be. And so, yeah, obsession is a real key component to taking action and being obsessed and actually being successful. I want to give some shout outs. Dr. Erin Stagner is on Go Big or Go Home. Yes, absolutely. If you haven't checked out her, what should we call it? Her special populations package, I guess.
Yeah, it's the special needs specialist.
Yes, that's what I couldn't remember the name of it. Thank you. The special needs specialist. Yes, it is freaking awesome. So I'm super stoked for her. I'm so glad she launched that. And then Callie Horstman is on. She says, hi, John and Dr. Barb. Hello, Callie. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks for being on. Thanks for joining us for the Chiropractic Compass podcast. So, Doc, without further ado, we're going to wrap this up because we got a late start and technology is just a beast of a burden sometimes. But you and I always prevail. We always make it out on the other end, and it is so fun. And so, Doc, talk to us a little bit about this October 26th event. I'm going to drop the date on the screen below, but talk to us about the Women's Leadership Summit and how people can further get involved and I guess schedule a RSVP for it.
Yeah. So, our theme this year is girl, just because you carry it all so well doesn't mean it's not heavy. So, we're always juggling a lot of things as women and men. The VIP summit is for you. The summit, the VIP mastermind is for you, but during the day, it's just women. So I brought together women from all walks of life. They're not all chiropractors, in order to share in the experience of how have they carried a heavy load without it crushing them. Some have already raised their children and are doing other things. Some are, like one speaker, Trina Felber, is a nurse by trade and was getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And she started doing research herself to figure out like what in the world is going on. Well, she discovered it's all of the stuff she puts on her skin and makeup. So she wrote a book called Beauty's Dirty Little Secret about how the cosmetic company is like destroying us from the outside in, right?
Yeah.
And so she started a company called Primal Health Organics, and she's going to be sharing her journey with us. Carrie Gunderson, who is Garrett Gunderson's wife, is going to be sharing her journey on wanting to help her son, who had every diagnosis on the spectrum imaginable, and they were getting nowhere. And, Carrie set out on this journey thinking she was going to get answers for her son, and actually got answers for herself. And because of those answers, the healing that has taken place for her son has been amazing. Then Robin Hale is speaking on about her journey of overcoming an audit, a 6.5-year audit with Medicare. and how do you get out from underneath that burden? And so it's just going to be a wonderful time. I encourage women to come because you want to be empowered. Come because you have gifts and talents that you want to share with all of us, that, we're not just there downloading to you, we're gaining back. And so if your energy isn't there, something is going to be lost. And if you've never attended one of my women's events, I promise you it's different than any other event that you have attended. It's real, it's raw, it's authentic, it's a dialogue instead of just a monologue. Mike McAllowitz, who is the author of Profit First, at the end of the summit will be doing a keynote on how do we get back our money and how do we get back our time so we can be powerful women who serve in our practices and in our communities and our home with a tremendous amount of joy. And then he is also doing the VIP mastermind, which is really kind of unique. He doesn't, having one-on-one time with him is extremely pricey. So what he's going to do is deliver a keynote, and then individuals, when they buy their VIP ticket, they fill out a questionnaire about the biggest challenges that they're having in their practice or that they perceive that they will have as a student. And then he's going to go through them and select certain docs or students to have a hot seat.
Awesome.
And so he'll walk you through the challenges that you're having and help you solve them. And everyone else will get to listen in, which is really intense. And masterminds nowadays are, $25,000 to $100,000 for a mastermind. So right now those VIP tickets are on sale until September the 15th. The price doubles after September the 15th.
Awesome. That sounds like an amazing event. And I've never personally been to any of Dr. Barb's women's events, but all I know about Dr. Barb is she goes big or she goes home. And that is the truest statement I can leave with that, because it is true. So all of you, chiro females out there, and you said it's not just for chiropractors, correct?
Right. It's not just for chiropractors. The summit is for women attached to chiropractic. And you don't have to be in chiro school. I would prefer that you love chiropractic. And then the VIP mastermind is for men and women. I will tell you, last year at the Women's Chiropractic Leadership Summit, we had an A-list actor, Hollywood actor, who came and spoke for an hour and a half, Glenn Morshower, who is in The Resident. So you never know what Dr. Barb is going to bring into Women's Chiropractic Leadership Summit. But you won't know if you don't join us. So you're going to want to be there.
Yes, you are going to want to be there. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me personally. You can reach out to Dr. Barb. And message either of us on Facebook or wherever you find us. We're on all social media. So with that being said, Doc, thank you so much for being on the show. Again, guys, that was October 26th, Women's Chiropractic Leadership Summit. And she just named a list of amazing, incredible speakers that are going to just blow your mind. And like she said, I liked how you said that, Doc, it's going to be a dialogue, not a monologue. And it's creating this culture and this event in this environment, rather, to be able to share your ideas, your feelings, your thoughts, your observations, and having people in a support group and a tribe, like Dr. Barb likes to say, around you to help you out and get through those struggles or celebrate the successes. So with that being said, Doc, I absolutely love having you on the show. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here, for all that you do for the Legendary Chiropractor, all you do for the Chiropractic Compass podcast, all you do for chiropractic in general. And I urge everybody to head to the Women's Leadership Summit, October 26th at Life University. And thank you so much for being on the show. Head to thelegendarychiropractor.com for all of your chiropractic needs. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Dr. Barb, for being on. And have a wonderful, wonderful day and wonderful week this week. And happy Monday to everybody out there. Any closing remarks, Doc?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to Johnny for making the time and the space for this. I think it's a really valuable service. And thank you as well for the support that you give to the boot camp. I love that Dr. Aaron has been on this, and I think Dr. Robin and several boot campers have been interviewed. So thank you very much. And please, to all of you, if you reach out, I'll reach back. But if you don't reach out first, I won't know that you want to connect, or I won't know that you're needing help, or I love connecting people. So if there's a way in which I can serve you, step up. That's how you get noticed, and that's how you build relationship capital.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Relationship capital plus mental capital equals financial freedom. I love it, Doc. Have a great night, everyone. Thanks for tuning into the Chiropractic Compass podcast. Until tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we'll be here with DC to be Evan. So he's from Palmer, Florida. So be ready for that. Be pumped. Bye, guys.
Thanks.